So, you think you know Vladimir Putin? You see him on the news? The guy with the steely gaze? The one who's always shaking hands with world leaders or, not shaking hands. Which is also a statement. He's the face of Russia, a figure of immense power, and let's be honest, a little bit of mystery. We see the headlines, we hear the sound bites, but what do we really know about the man himself? It's like trying to understand your cat. You think you have a connection, and then it just stares at you blankly before knocking a glass off the table. That's Putin, but with nuclear codes. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain, just a little bit. We're diving into 5 hidden secrets behind the Russian leader. These aren't the things you'll find on his official biography, which I'm sure is a thrilling read, probably titled, My Totally Normal and Not at All Suspicious Rise to Power. No, we're talking about the lesser-known facts. The stories whispered in hallways, the details that paint a much more complex and, frankly, more fascinating picture of one of the most influential people on the planet. Some of these might genuinely surprise you, and they might just change the way you see him. From his shadowy past in the world of espionage to the carefully constructed image he projects to the world, we're going to explore the layers that make up Vladimir Putin. We'll look at how his early life shaped his political playbook, the truth behind his public persona, and the intense secrecy that shrouds his personal life. It's a journey into the heart of modern Russia, guided by the enigma at its center. So grab your popcorn or maybe some borscht if you're feeling authentic and get ready. We're about to unveil the man you thought you knew. Before he was President Putin, shaking up the world stage, he was just Vladimir, a young man in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, with a dream. And that dream apparently was to be a spy. It's like he watched every James Bond movie and thought, yes, but what if he was less charming and the car was a Lada? Putin joined the KGB, the infamous Soviet intelligence agency, in his early 20s. This wasn't just a job for him, it was a calling. He spent years in East Germany, working as a counterintelligence officer. Imagine that, your job is to find spies, which is basically the plot of a spy versus spy cartoon. It's a world built on paranoia, deception, and knowing who you can, and more importantly, who you absolutely cannot trust. This experience wasn't just a footnote on his resume, it was the entire curriculum for his future career in politics. In the KGB, you learn to operate in the shadows, to manipulate information, and to see the world as a chessboard where every move is a potential threat or an opportunity. You don't make friends, you cultivate assets. You don't have conversations, you gather intelligence. This mindset, this deep-seated suspicion of the West, and a belief in the power of covert action became the bedrock of his leadership style. He sees plots and conspiracies everywhere because, for a significant part of his life, that was his entire reality. It's a tough habit to break. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Putin described it as the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. For him, it wasn't just a political event, it was a personal failure. He watched the agency he dedicated his life to crumble. That sense of loss and a desire to restore Russia's former glory is a powerful motivator. So when you see him making a bold, aggressive move on the world stage, remember, you're not just watching a president. You're watching a former KGB agent who believes he's playing a high-stakes game of survival, and he's determined this time not to lose. It's the ultimate long game. Now, let's talk about money. We all know politicians are generally well off, but the stories about Vladimir Putin's wealth are on a whole other level. Officially, his salary is quite modest, something a mid-level manager in a tech company might make. He declares a small apartment, a couple of old Russian cars, the humble man of the people look. It's a very well-crafted image. But then, you hear the whispers, the reports from investigative journalists and opposition figures, and a completely different picture emerges. A picture that includes super yachts, secret palaces, and a fortune that could make Jeff Bezos look like he's shopping with coupons. These reports, which of course the Kremlin denies faster than you can say no comment, suggest Putin might be one of the richest men in the world, possibly the richest. We're talking about estimates that range from $70 billion to over $200 billion. How? The allegations point to a complex network of offshore accounts, lucrative stakes in state-owned companies gifted to his closest friends, the oligarchs, and a system where loyalty is rewarded with astronomical wealth. It's a system where the line between the state's treasury and a personal piggy bank becomes incredibly blurry. It's like having the keys to the entire country's bank vault. The most famous example is the alleged Putin's Palace, a massive, opulent estate on the Black Sea coast that reportedly has its own church, a hockey rink, and even an aqua disco. It's the kind of place a Bond villain would reject for being too over the top. While Putin has publicly denied owning it, the sheer scale of the rumored wealth and luxury creates a stark contrast with his official, modest image. It speaks to a level of secrecy and alleged corruption that is staggering. Is he the humble servant of the Russian people? Or is he a modern-day Tsar living a life of unimaginable luxury, all hidden behind a veil of plausible deniability? The truth, like the money, is likely hidden very, very well. Every leader has a brand. For some, it's about being relatable, the kind of person you could have a beer with. For Vladimir Putin, the brand is strength, pure, unadulterated physical power. And nothing says I am in control quite like throwing another grown man over your shoulder. Putin is a black belt in judo, and it's not just a hobby he picked up last weekend. He's been practicing since he was a boy, and he's co-authored books on the subject. He doesn't just do judo, he embodies it, and he makes sure the world knows it. This isn't just about fitness. It's a calculated part of his public image. Think about the photos we see. Putin shirtless on a horse, Putin tranquilizing a tiger, Putin scoring 8 goals in a hockey game. It's a masterclass in political theater. The message is clear. Your leader is strong, virile, and capable. He's not some frail politician sitting behind a desk. He's a man of action. Judo, in particular, is the perfect metaphor for his political style. The whole philosophy of judo is about using your opponent's weight and momentum against them, finding their weak points, and using minimum effort for maximum effect. Sound familiar? This martial arts expertise projects an image of discipline, strategy, and quiet lethality. When he steps onto the mat in his judogi, he's not just exercising, he's performing. He's reminding his people and his rivals that he is a formidable opponent, both physically and geopolitically. It's a way of communicating strength without having to say a word. It taps into a deep-seated Russian ideal of the strong-hand leader. In a world of complex diplomacy and political maneuvering, sometimes the most effective message is the simplest one. Don't mess with the guy who can literally flip you. In the 21st century, the most powerful weapon isn't a tank or a missile, it's information. And Vladimir Putin understands this better than almost anyone. If his KGB past taught him about secrets, his time in power has taught him how to control the narrative. In Russia, the state has a near-total grip on the most influential media outlets, especially television, which is where most Russians still get their news. This isn't a subtle influence, it's a full-on, state-directed orchestra where every instrument plays the same tune, and Putin is the conductor. The major TV channels present a version of reality that is meticulously curated by the Kremlin. On this reality show, Russia is a besieged fortress of traditional values, constantly under attack by a decadent and hostile West. Putin, in this narrative, is the nation's sole protector, the wise and powerful leader steering the country through treacherous waters. Criticism of the government is rare, and when it does appear, it's often framed as the work of foreign agents or traitors. This creates an information bubble that is incredibly difficult to pierce, shaping public opinion on a massive scale. It's like living in a movie where you're only ever allowed to see the director's cut. This control extends beyond traditional media. While the internet was once a space for freer expression, the Kremlin has worked tirelessly to tame it. They've passed laws requiring tech companies to store data on Russian servers, blocked websites, and created a climate of fear for independent bloggers and online journalists. The goal is to create a sovereign internet, isolating the Russian digital space from the global one. It's a digital iron curtain. By controlling what people see, hear, and read, Putin not only silences dissent, but actively shapes the thoughts and loyalties of millions. It's a hidden, pervasive form of power that is fundamental to his long-lasting rule. For a man who lives his public life under the full glare of the camera, Vladimir Putin's personal life is a black hole. It is, without a doubt, the most fiercely guarded secret of all. We know he was married for 30 years to Lyudmila Putina, a former flight attendant. They had 2 daughters, Maria and Katerina, but try to find a recent confirmed photo of them. Go on, I'll wait. It's nearly impossible. Their lives are shrouded in such intense secrecy that for years, many Russians didn't even know what they looked like. It's like they're in the witness protection program, but the person they're being protected from is the public. The divorce from Lyudmila was announced in a bizarrely staged interview at the intermission of a ballet in 2013. Since then, his personal life has become even more opaque. There are persistent, unconfirmed rumors of another family, a relationship with a former Olympic gymnast, Alina Kabaeva, with whom he allegedly has more children. These rumors are never ever addressed by the Kremlin. In fact, the one Russian newspaper that dared to report on it was promptly shut down. The message was crystal clear. This topic is off limits. This is not a suggestion. It is a rule written in stone. This intense privacy is a stark contrast to Western leaders, whose families are often part of the political package. But for Putin, it serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it's a matter of security. By keeping his family out of the spotlight, he protects them from potential threats. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, it enhances his mystique. He is not a husband or a father in the public eye. He is Putin, the leader. He is married to Russia. This deliberate separation of the personal from the political creates an aura of detachment and singular focus. He belongs to the state and the state alone. His family, whoever they may be, remains the Kremlin's greatest secret. So there you have it. 5 pieces of the puzzle that is Vladimir Putin. We've journeyed from his formative years as a KGB spy, a ghost whose shadow still looms large over his every decision. We've peered into the rumors of his almost unimaginable secret wealth, a fortune fit for a czar, hidden far from public view. We've seen how he uses his black belt in judo, not just as a sport, but as a powerful tool of political branding, crafting an image of invincible strength. It's a performance for the world stage, and he never breaks character. We also explored his absolute mastery over the media, conducting a national orchestra of information to ensure his narrative is the only one that most Russians ever hear. And finally, we touched upon the most protected secret of all, his mysterious personal life, a black box of sealed records and unanswered questions about his family. Each of these secrets, the spy, the wealth, the fighter, the propagandist, and the private man, reveals a different facet of his leadership. They show a man who is strategic, disciplined, and utterly committed to control, both of his country and his own image. But of course, with a figure this secretive, there are always more layers to uncover. These are just 5 of the most significant hidden aspects of his life. What do you think? Do you know of any other hidden facts or stories about Putin that we didn't cover? Let us know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you've heard. Understanding these powerful figures is more important than ever. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the people who shape our world.